Welcome to Get Over It, the Consciousness Transforming Podcast for exceptional 21st century living. Folks, we have a very special show today. We're going to be speaking with Michele Denis, and she is a Reiki master and master teacher. And I met her officially at the Wisdom of Reiki conference, and we became fast friends. I just looked at her darling face and said, "Oh, I love you." Not a romantic way, but I just loved her energy. And she was also a presenter there. So we're going to talk today about Reiki and Marma Points and perhaps some vortexes and anything else that comes up. So you're going to get two spiritual ladies giving you some great information today on taking care of yourself. Now, the information shared on Get Over It uses intuitive and pragmatic insight to help you shift your consciousness to break through blocks and release energy that is no longer needed. Yes, we're going to help you let go of the BS that's holding you back. But you know, I always ask that question, are you truly ready to? And by the way, folks, BS is belief system. A bit about me for my new listeners: intuitive since birth. I'm a third generation intuitive with over 3 decades of experience supporting people to break through the blocks along their path. I'm a strategist for personal and professional transformation, revealing cutting edge information that enables you to prosper and thrive. I spent 25 successful years in corporate America as an executive sales professional, and I'm the founder of Healing Visions Ministries and the Northern California Children's Education Network, a 501c3 nonprofit. I provide consultations and healings in all areas of life that heal the mind, body, spirit connection, allowing you to live your very best life. My clients say that I keep it real while providing them with accurate information to assist them along their journey as a spirit living a human existence. But they also say, if you really don't want to know, don't ask Monique. My background includes a doctorate in metaphysics, Reiki master teacher, ordained minister, and clinical hypnotherapist. So whether you are stressed, depressed, or possessed, I can help. To find out more about me and my services, go to my website, and that's MoniqueChapman.com. And I invite you to like me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I am not on Twitter any longer, so don't even go there. Folks, if you like the podcast, subscribe, give me some stars, help girl out. Would love to hear from you. My guest today, Michele Denis, a Reiki teacher for over 25 years. She founded the West Coast Reiki Center in 2008 in Vancouver, British Columbia. The center was born out of a desire to provide ongoing support and training to Reiki practitioners. In 2010, she reconnected with her earlier love of Vedic philosophy and practices, leading her to complete her 500-hour yoga therapy training with integrative yoga therapy at Kirapu Center. When she is not teaching and working at her institute, she is spending time with her husband, Fred, and her wonderful dog, Molly. And she will tell you where she's from because, folks, I can't say it. So welcome, Michele.
Oh. Thank you, Monique.
Okay, and where are you from?
I'm actually from Gabriola is the island, but Canada's in a fantastic new phase where we are recognizing our Indigenous heritage, and a lot of the names of First Nations land are being restored. So the island is actually called, or the area is Sininamu, and Sininamu. It's challenging to say, but I try to honor it and use it when I'm in any kind of formal setting, because I think it's really important to acknowledge the first people of this land and that we are sitting on unceded territory here. So that's why we do that in Canada.
Okay, well, we should do it all over, because the red man was here first, folks. And, we forget that because we don't want to remember. But the way it's spelled, I was like, oh my goodness, we'll just let her explain that. Well, that explains your energy, Michele, because when I told you when I first met you that I was talking to Brett Bevel, I had him on the show, and I said your name was Michele Denis, and he correctly said, no, it's Denis. And I was like, so I needed to share that story with you when I met you. And it's all about going back home, going back to what's grounding, going back to the original. Okay. And your energy embodies that Native American energy that you're talking about. I mean, you really resonate with that land. Now, as a Reiki master teacher and a Marma therapy person, how did all of that come to you initially? What was the catalyst?
So really, as much like you, we started our Reiki journey a long time ago, and I actually started mine with Brett Bevel. We both worked at Omega Institute in 1995, and we ended up becoming fast friends. He started a Reiki journey, and I was doing more physical therapies like massage therapy, shiatsu. It's very easy for me to travel into other realms, and it's more challenging for me to be in my physical body. So I was trying to integrate into my physicality, and I thought, well, Reiki, this energy stuff, I don't, that's just going to take me out there. So Brett kept offering me Reiki in his wonderful, generous self, and I wasn't drawn to it. But we both ended up moving to San Francisco. I went back to graduate school at Holy Names College, and he was in San Francisco, so I was in Oakland. And we maintained our friendship. And the day I graduated, I was getting ready to return to Canada. I called him up. I said, you know what? It's time for Reiki. And it was just like that. It was immediate. Everything in my body resonated with Reiki. And so Brett very graciously initiated me into my first level. And then I came up to Canada, returned home. I'm originally from Montreal, which is where the Denis comes from. And the Michele too. I spell my name with just one L. And while I was on my way up to Vancouver, I ended up breaking my driver's leg, so I couldn't return back to California. So I did, again, miraculously find a Reiki master very quickly when I was in Vancouver and completed my Reiki studies. And so I began a Reiki practice working on people, and that went on for about 10 years, maybe a little bit more than that, 10, 15 years maybe. And because I had a background in massage therapy, and also I had studied Vedic, Vedic studies. I don't know if that's what influenced me to do this, but as I was working on people with Reiki, we tend to just lay our hands on, maybe very gently touch people, or work above people, but there isn't the invitation to actually massage people in Reiki. That's not what the practice is. You're working in the energy body. But what I discovered over time was that I was just intuitively depressing areas on the body, just very, very gently placing 2 fingers and perhaps my thumb, and just very gently putting a little bit of pressure, and then placing my palm over these spots. And I did that for years. And I remember I had one client who, whenever I would get to this one part in her thigh and I would do it, she would go, whee! Because for her, she said it felt like all of a sudden all the energy rushed down her legs. That it was like going on a Ferris wheel or a roller coaster, and it was her favorite part of the session. So I kind of, was intrigued about what was it that I was doing, and what I ended up finding one year when I went back to Omega, where I was also acting as a meditation faculty. I found a little book by I think his name was Dave King. No, but he was referencing someone named Master Navarro, who was an Indian Reiki master, East Indian Reiki master. And he made this comment in the book that the secret of Reiki was in the Marma points. And that just blew my mind, because I then went and cross-referenced my yoga books, because I was training to be a yoga teacher, and my Ayurvedic books. And sure enough, there is this whole body of knowledge called Marma points that's existed for thousands of years from the ancient rishis, that was used in the battlefields. And the Marma points were exactly the same places that I was depressing when I was doing the Reiki. They matched exactly. So that really opened up my mind into what is this? What is the connection here? Why is it working? Why are my clients getting so much more effect? Or, the Reiki seems to be enriched somehow by doing that. And so I just started studying that. And since I think this was my second or third time at the Reiki conference talking about it, and I'll probably be talking about it forever, I think. But it does seem to me that when I look at the manuals of Mikhail Yasui and who is the founder of Reiki, all of his hand positions overlay the Marma points. So, it's not, to me, what's so interesting is just how all of these different threads lead to the same place. So,
isn't it wonderful?
Yes, it's amazing. And of course, the difference between Marma points and acupressure points or acupuncture points are very specific. Marma points are a little bit more generous in their size, so you don't need to be quite as exact. They can be anywhere from like the width of one fingertip to 4 fingertips. So, you kind of just, there are intersections between tendons, ligaments, muscles, and it's just a natural way. If you just run your hand, for example, down your thigh, as you're going very, very slowly, you'll see there's a little bit of a divot. And when you feel that divot, that's a Marma point. And you just you just press that little divot a little bit, and then you place your hand over it and give it Reiki. And it just seems that much stronger to me. And so one of the things that I was mentioning at this last Reiki conference that is, perhaps a bit provocative for people who are very attached to traditional practice of Reiki, is that when we put our hands in Gaso Mudra, so we start Reiki by placing our hands in palm position, Gaso Mudra. We bring our thumb, our palms up to our third eye, and we just gently touch our third eye with our knuckle of our thumb, and we ask that the Reiki guide us, that we become informed by the Reiki, and that we allow that to guide us. Well, what we're also doing at the same time is that our knuckle is actually opening up the Marma point in our third eye, and our fingertips all have Marma points. So these Marma points are gateways that act as a link between the physical body and the pranic body. So when we press our fingertips together, we're engaging that gateway, opening up that channel between the cosmic realm, the etheric realm, the source realm, whatever you want to call that. But we make that connection between that realm and our physicality. So then our hands become more sensitive as we work. So that's kind of it.
Okay, so when you're talking about the Marma points, does one have to have been initiated in Reiki to utilize the Marma?
No, you could Marma point therapy. You can actually go to an Ayurvedic practitioner and have a Marma massage. And I want to make a disclaimer here that I am not a Marma therapist. I'm a Reiki teacher or Reiki practitioner who uses Marma in my work. It's a very deep study to become a Marma therapist, but I have an awareness of where all the Marma points are. And of course, like Chinese medicine, the Marma points relate to different organs and different systems in the body. So if you press one area, perhaps it might be on your foot, but it will also relate perhaps to your lung. So and I guess what I would like to encourage people to do, and what's meaningful to me, is to really engage with your curiosity and to explore. If this is something that piques your interest, go out and read about it. Go out and look about, find out what you can find out about it. I think that's the best way to learn how to do any of this. So as a Reiki practitioner, you do not need to be formally trained in Marma, although I think if you're interested, why not go and learn, take a class in it or read up about it. And if you're not a Reiki practitioner, go and do it too. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it provides healing. You talked about this at the presentation that I was at the Omega Center. And I think you mentioned a book, and maybe I bought a book. Hopefully this is one that you mentioned. It's Ayurveda and Marma Therapy, Energy Points in Yogic Healing by Dr. David Frawley.
Yes, that is to me the seminal book.
Okay. And folks, I haven't read it cover to cover, but I've gone through it, and I just tried a couple, just to see. Okay. Because sometimes I can have trust issues. So I did a couple, and I was like, oh my goodness, this actually works. And it goes deep into the Ayurvedic practice and a great understanding. And if you get this book, you can do some Marma therapy on yourself. And if you are a Reiki practitioner, it's like, wow, it just like blows the doors wide open. So when you were working with your clients, or are working with your clients now, how do you know which ones need either just straight Reiki, or straight Reiki and Marma, or Reiki and anything else that we might combine?
Well, that's a bit of a challenging question because I work so intuitively that I don't really try to think about it. I don't try to think about it. I do let spirit guide me, and I do let the wisdom of what's coming through guide me. But if I'm working on someone, I can tell they have a congested liver, I will be, I'll get that sensation because I can feel it. There just feels some sort of congestion in the area. So then I know I might work with the Marma point that helps support the liver. So I try not to do too much analysis, because I think that we also say with Reiki, we don't diagnose, right? So you have to be a bit mindful of that. But still, after this many years, you can tell when there's like congestion in the body. The biggest place for me to see congestion in the body is behind the knees. So behind the knees is where all of the meridian points, if you're following the Chinese system, all the meridian points come sort of guide, end up behind the knees, and behind the knees is a huge Marma point, actually all around the knees, called Janu. So I always, just as a point of habit and practice, regardless of whether or not a person has their energy flowing, I always just depress the back of the knees with all my fingers, just very slightly. So right now I'm actually just have my leg up, and I'm just holding the back of my knee with both fingers slightly pressing, and then I just lay one palm in the back and one palm on the top. And that is a really good place that to do daily, just to get your energy flowing.
Oh wow, that really makes a big a big difference. My right knee, it's sore all the time, and I just did that, and it was a bit of a lift in the pain. Interesting. I mean, something that simple.
The other thing you can do, Monique, is you can, if you take your palm of your hand as if you're making a cup, so that you cup, the top of your palm is on your knee and your fingertips are all around your knee. That whole area is full of Marma points. So once again, I'm just sort of pressing lightly, then just placing my hand on that at the same time as holding the back of my knee. And then there's another fabulous one. If you take your finger and you go down from your knee along the shin bone, you'll feel again that it's like a divot. If you're a golfer, you know what I mean. And you'll feel this little divot. press that, and then place your hand there. And then that's a really great way to get the energy moving down the legs.
My leg warmed up.
It's not like I found a trick when I did. It's not that I discovered it. I mean, I guess you got to be careful when you say discover, because it makes it sound like, you were the only one who did it. But for me, when I discovered this, it was like, wow, what is this?
It's fantastic. Now, real quick, can you give us something for headaches? Because a lot of people, they get like white
I can. So,
okay.
In fact, I was just going to give that. It's that one. It's probably also for stress, but it's the point between the eyebrows, the third eye point.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were doing a Marma massage, you would place 2 fingers on that point, and you would do a circle very, very gently, about 5 times. So that would be.
No matter which way the circle goes?
Yeah. Just just small fingers. And then if you're a Reiki person, what I would do is I would just, do the little circles, and then I would place my hand over that.
Okay.
And it's the same on the temples. I mean, it sounds so basic, but it really does work. So again, on the temples, small circular movements, and then just place your palms over that. And as a Reiki practitioner, you'll see like that is exactly one of the hand positions. Right?
Yes, it is.
So it's all connected. It's all connected.
We are so connected in so many ways. I remember a movie way back when, The 6 Degrees of Separation. And at first, when it first came out, I was younger and I didn't quite understand it. I've watched it several times over the years. It's like, yeah, we are all connected. And it boggles my mind to realize that we are trying to be so disjointed and so disconnected at this time.
Yes. And I was listening to your last podcast about wholeness and with Richard Akins, and I think that's what he's talking about. It's that we try to hold on to things to make them unique and stand out and be special, but by doing that, we're missing the point. I think. We need to come together in community, and which brings me to my other passion right now is just really understanding the ecosystem and how we are so interconnected with the land. And the land is our body. Most recently we have this property on Sininamud on this island, and there was a massive forest behind us, and last year the forest was clear cut. And it had a dramatic change to the whole ecosystem of our neighborhood. And on our property, we lost all our trees because they were no longer in community. They weren't supported. And when the trees came down, in fact, I was very fortunate. My dog and I were out on our patio, and the wind picked up, and I literally just ran, and this 80-foot Douglas fir came down right where I was standing.
Oh, wow.
So, I watched as it was an industrial clear cutting. So those machines were like transformers. They literally looked like the movie, and every tree that came down. So you're talking about 80-foot trees, right? Every tree that came down, our cabin shook. I felt every tree. And for months afterwards, when I would close my eyes in meditation, or even just to go to sleep, I would see this. It was like a network, a golden network, reaching out, searching, and I was trying to figure out what it was. And it happened all the time, and I could feel it in my body. And then I realized it was the mycelium in the earth that was looking. It was that interconnected web underneath the soil that was looking for the trees and looking to find community. It was profound, absolutely profound. And I'm still being informed in my body as to what that was all about. Like I barely have come to understand for myself. But why I'm talking about this, because what I think is that my interest in working with the energetic body, the electric body of humans, mirrors the electric body of the earth. And that
Yeah.
so much of what we do is working with the fascial layer. So the Marma points, the meridian points, all of these points really are beginning, the people who are doing scientific research are beginning to think that is where the fascia is, where the meridian system exists, the nadi points, the chakras. And I think this mycelium that is under the earth is the fascia of the earth. And that's how we're all connected. There you go. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, so I appreciate your 2 cents. Kind of along that line, but different. At the time of this recording, the day yesterday, or it was the day before, I don't remember which, there was this huge earthquake in Turkey and Syria, I believe.
Yes.
When the earth moves, I mean, there's many ways that could go with the earth moving, but just for those people that are there witnessing it, with the earth moving in that way, how does that upset the meridian system or the Marma points or whatever? Because you would think that with the earth moving with what you just described to us, it would have some type of physical result in the human body.
I would think so. Well, for one thing, I think a whole generation of people are going to be quite shattered, and that they will need a tremendous amount of support to regain their ground. Because think about it, the ground underneath them was released a tremendous amount of energy. I think it was 7.8, the first one, and the aftershock was 7.5.
Yeah.
So these poor people, their nervous systems will take years to recover. And I as I'm saying this, I sadly feel it will be a generation, maybe a couple generations before that leaves their nervous system. So,
well, it's interesting because it seems like that goes to the autonomic nervous system, right? Where you really don't necessarily have conscious control of what you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
Does that make sense?
It does to me, and grounding practices. How do you reestablish your trust in the ground beneath you when it has done that? And I'm also thinking, as you're saying that, Monique, that once again we're thinking of ourselves as and I don't mean you and I mean just collectively, as somehow separate from the earth. The earth is a living being, and the earth moves and shakes, and we enforce our sort of our structure on top of that, as opposed to finding a way to how do you say it, live within the let the earth sort of determine how we live. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, it does. I'm a fan of Westerns, and it drives my husband nuts because I'll watch Gunsmoke forever. But the one thing I've noticed, I'm just not watching to, look at the people and say, ooh, I pay attention to the energy that the people were going through back then. And a lot of it was earth-centered. I mean, if they needed to track someone, they had to get on the earth and track them. The doctors were relying more on the botanicals and the earth for healing, as opposed to big pharma, however it existed back then. And those people were more in tune with the flows. I mean, they used the moon cycles, they paid attention to the sun, and we've gotten so far away from that. How can we get back? Because I think that if we could get back to that, we could cure not only the nervous systems of something with a earthquake happening, but there's so many people today with some type of nerve disorder.
Yes. Well, I do think that a lot of us are talking about the same thing, the need to reconnect with nature. I think that is first and foremost. Probably the need to get off of all of our devices and all the social media, and just start being outside. When COVID hit, my working life changed dramatically. The big yoga studio that I was involved, taught in, closed permanently. I had to close the Reiki center because we lost our physical space, and I ended up selling it to two of my teachers, and they've launched it very well online. So I decided I wanted to move out of the city and come to our little cabin on this island because I had a deep need to be outside, to connect with as much as possible. Now I realize not everybody can do that. We live in an urban environment, so how do we make that change? But we have to find ways in how we build cities, for example, that we incorporate more green spaces, that we don't need as big places to live in as we have done in the last 30 years. We could live in smaller places that afforded us with more green space around us. So I think it's a real cultural shift that has to happen. Priorities have to change, and it has to be a cultural shift. And I do think that we are moving in that direction, and Mother Earth is not like giving us a chance not to. When you look at the storms we have, the earthquakes we have, the volcanoes we have, it's like, shut up and what's the expression? I can't think of it now. But anyway, yeah. So I think we're being forced to make these changes where we can't keep working against the natural world. We have to start working with the natural world.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I am not religious. I am not biblical, but a lot of people seem to think that what's going on in the world right now energetically is tied to the Revelations chapter in the Bible. If you're familiar with that concept, do you think that is the case?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why I don't, because we, again, as human mind, we are very egocentric and we think it's all about us, right? So we're looking only at the timeline of humanity, of history, of humans on the planet. But if you look geologically, there's been this planet is old. There's been major shifts in seismic shifts, tectonic shifts, climate shifts throughout millennia. So I think once again, our lens that we're looking at is incorrect and faulty. We have to have a much broader lens than just human existence. So, I mean, I suppose in some ways, if you think of it as a metaphor, as the book of Revelations as a metaphor, it could be a warning to us that, if we don't buck up and start changing how we live and what our priorities are, this is what's going to happen. But I don't subscribe to the finality of the religious finality to it. I think of it as a metaphor.
Okay. All right. I want to switch gears for a moment. You're up there in your beautiful place, and I'm seeing pictures, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Do you feel that you're living in or near some type of vortex there?
Well, I am so glad you asked me that, Denis. Because yes, it's when I got I've always been drawn to this island because my best friend lives here. She moved here 18 years ago, and I used to come and visit. And we were looking for a place for about 10 years, and one day we just stopped looking. And then one day she said, there's this little property that is lying empty, and the people have moved and they don't know what they're going to do with it, and why don't you go take a look? So as soon as I walked onto this our little property here, I could tell there was what I referred to as a portal. So not quite a power vortex, but a doorway, a gateway. And I knew exactly where it was on the property. As soon as I walked into the sort of the energy around it, I became electric. And I was like, yeah, there is definitely a portal or a vortex here. So when we were buying this place, we put in an offer. First of all, I had to ask permission of the land for us to be here. And I asked for it to give me a sign, and it did. And so I said, okay, well, we can put in an offer. So it was accepted. But there were a lot of issues with the property that we were not able to manage. Too much to get into. So we said, you know what, it's too complicated. We're going to let this go. So we let the property go. And interestingly, I went to Omega, and I came back, and it was a year to the day that we had let it go. The owner contacted me and said, we needed a new septic field. I said, I put in a new septic field and I'm going to list it again. Do you want it? And, immediately we bought it. So that New Year's, I was, and I've been telling everybody that, there's this portal on the property and I don't know what it's about. And everybody just thinks I'm nuts, right? Like I'm considered the witch down the street sort of thing. And anyway, I was standing on this patio we have with a girlfriend of mine who may be wired like me, but she's not into any of the things that I'm into. And we were both looking out in the area where the portal was. And literally we both saw a shaft of light come down and a door open and close. We both saw it. It was it's very rare to have a shared psychic phenomena. And it blew her away, and it confirmed to me that, I wasn't nuts. So I've referred to myself actually as the keeper of the portal. And that's what I think my job has become, and it's like a Marma point. So, this is the idea again, that these portals on the planet are gateways between cosmic energy and physicality. So what was this portal connecting to? Well, over the years that I've been here, I've had more and more experiences of interdimensional beings, interplanetary beings coming and visit. Most recently, and then there's this whole thing with the forest, right? So the portal, it's as if the portal was demanding more space. And in getting more space, more light. So right where the portal is where the takedown of the forest began. And then that I could tell there were more and more beings coming through. So it seemed to be very, very active. And then the tree that flew out of the earth, that is exactly where the portal was.
Oh, wow.
And so and after that, I had, there was one last visitation of beings it was a council of beings from all dimensions. They're not allowed to interfere with us, but they are wanting to help us. And so they were coming through the portal to have a big meeting to discuss, I know this sounds like nuts, but anyway, to discuss what they could do. And so I the way it works is that I woke up, there was somebody standing at my bedroom door, and they said, you got to go downstairs right now. So I went downstairs, and there were all these beings coming through the cabin. And in the living room was someone who I have seen before. And I asked her, okay, I got to ask you, right? Is this lucid dreaming? Am I making this up? Am I asleep? And she was like, no, you're not. You're in an altered state, but this is actually happening. And so she validated for me, what I thought was my insanity. And I asked them what they were doing, and that's what she said. And I turned around and I looked at our kitchen, but over our kitchen was this massive hall. Massive, beautiful hall with a dais at the front, and there were beings that were sitting there, and there was this conclave that was about to start about how to bring peace about on the earth. And I wanted to go in, of course, and so I started walking and I was told, no, you've done your job, you opened the gate, now you go back to bed. So I don't seem to be I'm just a doorkeeper. I'm just the doorkeeper. But now, after that, when the tree came out, I'm not sure what the story of the portal is, because it feels to me that it has expanded and it's everywhere, and it's no longer a singular point. So we'll see what happens,
Okay. So now that portal is open and it has possibly expanded, will it hold its same energy, or is it capable of allowing lower vibrational energy in?
I don't think that it's doing that. I think I mean, that's a really good question. I'm trying to sort of sense into it. Um, I almost wonder if it has dissolved.
Okay.
And I think there are power points and portals all over the earth, and there are many, many people who have a frequency and a sensitivity to help them. I have always seemed to be in that role in many times in my life. So I'm just not sure now if it has dissolved and they've moved. I think that they kind of might have done what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm anxious to see. And it was very connected, Monique, with interestingly with William Rand's Holy Fire Reiki. I think you know that Brett and I both ended up taking his Holy Fire Reiki out of hearing about it for so long. But what was really interesting to me, and I did speak to William about it, and I don't know that it was anything of interest to him, but what I was told was that these high beings and beings from other planets and from other dimensions wanted to do something that would help bring about a more peaceful existence on the planet, because we really need it. And that date was around the same time that William was given a new meditation for global peace, Holy Fire Global Peace. And I just thought that was really interesting, that this new Holy Fire Reiki for global peace kind of came in about 2 or 3 weeks after this conclave of what can we offer humanity to help them. So I don't know, that could all be a load of BS, but it just was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah, very true though. I think the universe, everybody says, I want to change the world. And you can change the world one person at a time by doing whatever you do to the highest of your ability. And that's going to affect someone else to wake up and they'll do their thing. So, I think that with the experience with William Rand, it was, positive. He received that information, he's sharing it with other people, and hopefully those other people will share it even more. Right. And perhaps that's one of the underpinnings of global peace and prosperity.
Yeah.
We just never know. Now, with your Reiki and your abilities to sense the energy, what would you do if you walked into a place where, you go with your dog Molly, and Molly's like, no, I'm not going in there? What do you try to heal it, or do you just let it be?
I just let it be now. There was a time when I was much more, I'm going to fix it, and now I don't. And I don't know if it's something to do with me. We were talking earlier about managing my own energy packets. But I'm much more selective about what I decide to engage with and what I don't. And certainly if Molly says no, I trust her.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, no, I get it. I trust my Sadie too. And you might have heard her bark earlier. She was staring into the corner by the front door, by the bookcase, and there was some energy there. And she looked at it, she barked at it, she went halfway to it, then got back up on the love seat and looked at it and barked again. So,
if it's in my house, because sometimes, I have our place pretty well warded, if you want to call it. But sometimes things get in. So if it's in my house, and even if I'm feeling funky energy around me, I will tone. Heather Knapp got me toning, and just here, just a sec, like, ooh.
Okay.
So when I tone, like I just did that in this room, and I can immediately feel the energy shift.
Yeah.
And so toning is a fantastic, easy tool that anybody can do at any time to shift the energy in a room. So
there you go, folks.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to go to a class to that. You don't need to pay for that. You just need to make a sound. And I don't think about the sound that will come out. I just allow myself to make that sound. And in the night, sometimes when Actually, there was an interesting thing that happened weeks ago, and I think it was connected with Brett when he was in Bangladesh, and something came into my bedroom, and I haven't had that in a long time, but I'm so attuned to Reiki magic. So working with the invocation or the Reiki crystal, sending Reiki to it, that I am doing that in my subconscious mind. I will just do it. And I will sort of start waking up and realizing that I'm doing it. So I love that. The fact that I now work at all levels, whether I'm awake or not awake, conscious or unconscious, I'm working.
Yeah, well, your unconscious mind, you've allowed it to come to the forefront, and you can create a lot of beauty and wonder with it instead of just using the conscious mind that we're trained in, at least Western philosophy, to use. Now, back to
I'm just going to add something, because it's not that I would ignore a toxic energy place, but in walking away, I'm honoring myself.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly, because some people will call me for spirit release, and I'll talk to them. I give everyone, the consultation, but I don't work with everyone, because some of it's like, no, I'm not touching that. You brought it in. Find somebody else to take it out.
Yeah, and over the years, like my I don't advertise. I sort of have a website, but I don't really. People find me who are meant to find me, and that's what I trust.
Yeah. And are you currently working with the public right now? And if so, how can they contact you?
Well, the best way to contact me is on my email. So it's MEDENIS@iCloud.com. So Denis @iCloud.com. And I do work with people here on the island. I have a studio, but I also do Zoom calls, and I don't have to physically be with you to work with you. And I think that is one of the beauties of COVID. It was one of the gifts of COVID, I think, is that it showed us how connected we are, and how we can work with people in different ways. And I'm grateful for that.
I am too, but what boggles my mind is someone will call and they'll want a Reiki attunement, level 1, level 2, whatever. And as soon as they find out I'm not doing it in person, they go, oh, that can't be valid. And I'm like, folks, it's energy. If you truly believe energy works, guess what? You can be on the other side of the world and it's going to work. And so it shows me how some people will want something but not necessarily have a deep understanding of what they're saying they want.
Right. And I have done a lot of distance healing work with people, and I just remember one experience particular with a woman in Germany where we both sat in meditation together as I was doing it, and the quality of presence was palpable. More palpable than if I was working on her physically. It was of a different level. But that you have to bring this quality of presence to that work when you're doing distanced work.
And it helps to not be full of discordant energy yourself. So work on yourself and then work on others.
Yes, it's always that first.
Well, dear, our time is almost up. It makes me sad, but what pearl of wisdom would you like to show or tell the audience before we go?
Well, I think it goes, I'm going to go with that idea of presence, that it's be present to your life. Pay attention to your world, pay attention to what's going on in your body, be curious, and be willing to do the work, to discover what's underneath whatever's coming up for you. So finding courage in these times is really going to be important. We all need to have courage.
Yes, we do, because it's always quite interesting when you step out in faith and you just do. It's amazing what can come back to you. Well, Michele, thank you so much for being with me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, Monique, it was fabulous. I love talking to you, and what fun. And hope we get to do it again.
We will. And to the audience, I want to thank you for your time and your attention. I'm always honored. And please remember, everyone, that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of discovering your work and your courage. Abundant blessings, light, and love to all. Agape.